Good morning or good afternoon, depending on what location of the world you are attending from today. Welcome to OneStrand's free webinar session. My name is Tammy Holter and I will be the host today. Our webinar session this morning is on improving your global authoring team's S1000D workflow. As I mentioned, my name is Tammy Holter. I'm the MD and co-founder of OneStrand, and I will be your host today, joined by Ms. Rita Nye. Obviously, Rita is a consultant at Absolute Data Group and, of course, these days the OneStrand brand as well. Good morning, Rita.
Morning, Tammy.
Today's session will run for approximately 45 minutes and with some time for some questions at the end as well. So for a little bit of a background on OneStrand, it's the combination of the shared vision of two industry-leading companies, ADG or Absolute Data Group and AEC Inc. Under the OneStrand brand, our companies provide our customers and partners with the most comprehensive set of solutions available for creating and managing your technical documentation and data. We offer cost-effective, user-friendly S1000D software solutions, and our comprehensive set of tools provides our customers with everything they need to simply manage the life cycle of their technical documentation. We also offer over 30 years of experience in technical documentation services, combined with our decades of experience in developing information management software applications. We've worked closely with regulatory agencies to deliver products and services that meet the stringent requirements of the defence and aerospace industries, and we earn our place every day with our customers and value their long-term relationships. OneStrand is more than a solution provider, we act as a stakeholder. So a very brief background as well on the R4i S1000D product suite. So this is obviously not a full or comprehensive list of the S1000D products we have in the family of R4i products, but the most common components that our customers use on a day-to-day basis, which of course is the R4i CSDB or Common Source Database, used to manage and publish critical content through to IETP and other electronic delivery. We have R4i Writer, which is our powerful XML authoring tool, optimised for S1000D data format delivery. It's available in a Pro version, which can Pro and Standard version, which can connect to the CSDB. But if you don't have our CSDB and you're, for instance, a technical writer that just wants to get authoring, you can use R4i Writer in a personal edition as well, and that retails for USD $9.98 plus maintenance. R4i Viewer, we of course have a royalty-free online and offline viewer, and it's for delivery of your IETMs or IETPs. And R4i Binder, which is our powerful drag and drop tool, allows you to quickly and easily create manuals, handbooks, technical manuals, and not just from S1000D content, but from any XML or HTML content. So we have a combination of customers using it for ATA, mill standard or S1000D data. And our IPD Manager tool, which is Illustrated Parts Data. So this is a time-saving tool that automatically generates hundreds of data modules in a few minutes from your engineering parts, spreadsheet or database. And for those that may not want to invest in purchasing software, we also have these products available in our hosted platform, and that's known as OneStrand Air, and the URL there is shop.onestrand.com. So enough about OneStrand and the products. Let's get on to our presenter today, Rita. Good morning, Rita.
Morning.
So as I mentioned earlier, Rita is a senior consultant and has been at Absolute Data Group and now OneStrand for just gone 10 years. 10-year anniversary there, Rita. Thank you very much. And Rita has 13 years experience in IT, and for the last 10 has been specialising in HTML and XML publishing systems, analysis, development, and dynamic database publishing projects, including S1000D, and handling the delivery of those to both web and complex print requirements. Rita is a trainer, obviously, and one of the reasons why we utilise her for a lot of the S1000D and product topics that we run monthly. And she also specialises in not just the R4i products but other legacy programs that our customers worked with in the past. So apart from being a specialist in our own R4i Writer tool, she's worked with Arbortext Editor and Adobe FrameMaker. Rita is well known for her style sheet development in both XSLT, but particularly in faux development, which she generally loves, depending on how complex some of those projects get.
Very true on that one. So what we want to do is have, first of all, a little bit of a look at what sort of workflow capabilities we've already got available. So really there's the R4i CSDB internal tasking feature. So with that, we can then do a little bit of comparison between that and the web environment. So our CSDB internal tasking feature, it's very, very simplified. It's very, very basic with what it can do. You literally create a task, assign it to the person, add the files, and tell them what the status is going to be when they've finished the work.
And that appears as a task in their inbox in whatever product they're using, such as R4i Writer.
Yeah, so it's either R4i Writer or R4i CSDB. They can then see that information. And it works quite nicely, you know.
And in fact, a lot of customers like it because it is very quick and fast to set up and a simple process. Very good for small teams.
Very good for very small teams, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just gives you that ability just to do that very easy communication process.
Yep.
But a lot of organisations really want to have a little bit more to trigger with that. So with that, then we've got Task Manager, which is a web application, so you can deploy it onto your IIS server. And with that, there's a little GUI that we also provide called Task View. But with this one, you can create your own workflow. So you can trigger email notifications when tasks are created or updated. You can manage who gets those emails. You can do a lot of customization. You can customize the actual physical templates that are sent out. So you can have a lot of features.
More workflow-based rather than just a drop into your inbox type.
Correct, yes. So we're really looking at just trying to provide just that extra level of capabilities. So it really depends on what your needs are at this point in time as to which one is more beneficial for you.
So I guess probably one of the things we would say is if your team's sort of, 10 or more users, or if they're in a lot of remote locations, so global locations, and maybe a combination of people who are permanently in the products and people who aren't, so hence those email triggers are handy to tell them to go and log in and do something where, if you've got a small team and you're all sort of in R4i Writer and stuff and CSDB client all day, every day, then you don't need it.
No, you don't. And you're most probably going to find that if you're in that sort of small team environment, you're going to have a pretty good communication process occurring.
Yeah.
So,
it'll be a very tight team anyway.
It's going to be a very tight team. So they're really just going to be looking at what's needed to get that information through without having to provide lots of information about where's the file located, what are you doing with it, what's all the instructions that go with that.
Yeah.
So the internal tasking feature works really, really nicely.
For the smaller teams.
For really small teams. But where you've got locations where people are having issues or there's remoteness involved, or you've got lots of different locations or lots of people in different locations.
So there's not that day-to-day chatter about what's going on, and so you need to include all that communication in the workflow.
Yes. So they're the sorts of things that we start to look at when we're looking at the task notification process.
Yeah. Okay. So this is we class this as Task Manager Server, and it's got, like you said, the little GUI tool called Task View as well. So they're the pieces we're going to look at today.
Yes.
Okay.
So as I said, with Task Manager, it does come with a default workflow. So you don't need to go through and go, oh, what are we going to do with it? It does come with a default.
You've got a start point.
And with that, the only ones you need to keep that you can't do anything with is new and finished. Anything in between, you can customize to what you want. So you can have that sort of functionality. So we're going to have a little bit of a look at what we do make available as a default workflow. We're also going to have a look at how you can assign the tasks and how we can assign the task with or without files. And the files can be multiple files. So they can be both data modules and illustrations, because of course we know that from an end user's point of view that we really need to have this communication of being able to check out not just the data modules, but there's the illustrators as well.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get that notification side.
Yep.
So having that sort of functionality, what sort of end user notifications we've got so that we can customize it and manage that information, how we can do checkout and check-in,
yep,
so that we can visually see exactly what is happening with the files,
yep,
how we can then update that information, because
yep,
you need to have a communication process occurring with it.
That's the point of workflow. Yep.
That's
yep.
the whole point of it.
Yep.
And then, you know, what sort of reporting information is available. So they're
mm-hmm.
the sorts of things that we really want to be able to hone in on
mm-hmm.
and make sure that we're starting to focus on that information.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's go into the boring side of it and let's go into Task Manager. Hopefully it will display at some point in time.
There we go. Yep.
Okay, so this is the home page for R4i Task Manager.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, this is a web application, so this is deployed onto your IIS server and configured to be able to communicate to its own personal database, but it also connects into the R4i CSDB.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to have those configurations enabled.
Yep.
Otherwise nothing's going to work.
Yep.
Okay. So with this, we then come to our sign-in page, and again, it's going to be based on your email account. So I'm going to be a very bad person and just use the default admin user here,
mm-hmm.
but each person would be assigned their own personal email account
mm-hmm.
Into the system. So whatever is their email account.
Yep, so your company email is what generally people are
yep.
logging in with.
And
yep.
with that, they would then also have that function to change their password. So you can see here that we've got our change password or I've
facility.
forgotten.
Yep.
So again, if you've forgotten your password, it'll send an email trigger with a temporary password,
mm-hmm.
and then you can then log in with that temporary password and then change your password. So you can have that management side of it quite nicely. So once we then sign in, now as I said, I'm logging in with the admin permissions, but with this, again, depending on what your role is, will determine what information you can see on this page.
Yep.
So because I've logged in as admin, I've got lots of tabs across the top that allows me to do lots of things, whereas if I was just logging in as an administrator, as an author or an illustrator, I might be able to see the home and the My Jobs, and that's as far as I can see. I don't know of anything else that's available. So again, it gives us that management process. So when the system is first set up, what happens is you come into your admin section, and with this, apart from our licensing section, we've got task states and email groups. So with our task states, it gives us the information to let us know what sort of variables are available.
Mm-hmm.
So these are very specific variables that we can use to pick up information from the database. And we can see here that we have, I'll just make this a full screen so you can see it all. This is our default workflow process.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, it allows us to go through. So what you would do is you can have a look at the default workflow process,
modify, add,
or you can then sit down and work out your own workflow process.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, as I said, the only ones that you can't play with are new,
yep,
and finished.
Okay.
Those two need to stay.
Yep.
But everything in between
can be edited, removed, add to. Yep.
So you can then customise it to what your requirements are. So you do have a fair bit of flexibility with this process. And with this, once you've created a task, what happens is it has the information about the name of the task, obviously,
mm-hmm.
a description about what is the purpose for this particular task state,
mm-hmm.
so we can then identify that.
Yep.
We can then have, if someone creates, in this example, a new task,
yep.
who else gets notified? So you can set up, once you've got all your users in the system, you can set email groups up.
Mm-hmm.
And those email groups, so you might want to have that every time a new task is created, that there might be team leads that need to receive a notification,
mm-hmm.
so that they're aware that a particular person's just been given a task.
When it goes into QA, it goes to the QA team, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So You can have these team lead type people also receiving an email notification to let them know that this function has just occurred. So it gives them that additional information to help them understand where things are at that point in time, and also to identify, what activities are happening
going on
for those particular users. So we can set up a whole range of email groups depending on what we're wanting to do. And we can then also specify when they get this task, what's the next step? So when they've actioned this task, so they've gone into their task manager and they've gone, I've got a new task, what can it set to next? So we can see here that for a new task, they can either accept it, an administrator could recall it, they can reject it, or they can say it's work started. So you choose what is the next state that it goes to. So this then allows you to set that.
So it's a nice simple.
Yes, it's not as complex as some big massive workflow processes.
Industrial products.
This one we've gone for very, very simple. Let's just make it function.
So it's more than just a task state like it is in R4i CSDB. It does have a workflow layer to it, but without, again, getting too overly complex.
Correct.
Which, for publishing tasks, it shouldn't be too complex, right?
So we've just gone through with, we want to have that workflow process, but we want to make it a pretty simple format
to be able to build.
When an author receives a task, they can see, what am I doing with it next? I'm going to start work on it, so they can then do that. Okay, and then we have our email template, and this information can then be customised for their own specific environment. So they can do anything and everything that they want. They can add extra information in here, but you can see here that we've got all of our little variables set in place. So as long as we've got those variables, then the system will automatically pick up that information.
But the rest is whatever wording you want for that email.
Correct, and if you want a URL that they can click on from the email, you can put all of that in, so it's all then accessible. So it makes life that little bit easier to get that communication. So we can go through and customise each of these for each task state. And so therefore each task state can be slightly different in the email body because it's a different function. We're looking at a different process now.
You've been assigned to authoring versus can someone QA versus,
So you can then go through that process. So we can start to build all of these task states as much as we need to.
Lovely.
Okay, so it's very, very simple, very basic with what we're trying to do, but it achieves what we're actually looking for. So we can then go through and set up all those task states, and you can see here we've got our email groups. So with this, you create the group and then you assign the members to that group. So the only thing you need to be aware of with that is that if you assign a member to multiple groups, they're going to get multiple emails.
Of course,
because they're in multiple groups. So just to have that understanding. Okay. We then, to configure everything, we've then got to set up the configuration of this task manager. So the first thing they've got to do is you've got to set your data sources. Where is the CSDB physically located so that we know what is its connection and what is the information that we're using with that. So what is the database connection information? So IT gets to be involved on this side because they've got to do that. So we can have multiple databases. So you could have a production and a test environment all in the one interface. So we can do that. And so we would set up multiple databases, and then we'd set up our project. So for each project they need to work on, you just create those projects in here. So again, you can have your production and your test environment, or it could be a production and a training environment. So when a new member comes on board, before they get put into the whole world of production, they go through their training requirements. So you can have your training database, which is where they go through and actually learn how to use the system. So we can have multiples of those. And of course, our users side, we can then set them up. So with this, we have 3 roles. So you can see here I've got 2 roles set up. We've got the administrator, which is how I'm logged on at the moment, so we can see anything and everything. We can have a project lead, and so a project lead gets to see the assigned work, my jobs and home. So they can physically assign work to a user. And then we've got authors, and authors are illustrators and tech writers. And with that, they get to see my jobs, and that's all that they can see.
Right.
Okay. Unlike R4i Task Manager, where R4i CSDB, I'll get the right word out in a moment. Unlike the CSDB, where we can set up user accounts and it can just be, say, a first name or an ID or whatever. With this, we've got to use your email address.
But they're logging in, right? So
they're logging into a web portal interface. So we do need to have something that's very unique, and the most unique thing is
your
email address. Okay, so we can then set that. Now, to create and manage a task, it's really quite simple. First of all, you come into the Assign Work section, and by default, when you first come in, it's set to No Project. And you get this lovely little warning message here that no project's been selected. So you can then drop down onto the list and choose which project. You will only see the task that's relevant
for that project.
So if Task Manager has got 5 or 6 projects in here, you've literally got to change to which project
what project are you working on, and then you'll see your task for that project.
Correct. So you need to know what you're doing.
Well, that's not surprising.
So then to create a task, it's really quite simple. You simply go create new task, and with this we can create a task with or without associated files. So if we wanted to add files, we simply go add, and it will then populate the repository. Now, depending on where that repository is will determine how fast.
And how big the repository is.
And how big. The bigger the repository, the more data it's got to load, the slower it's going to be. So, again, being aware of that.
Because it's a web page and it's loading up basically your complete CSDB database and folders and files. And
everything that you've got inside your CSDB,
it's going to load up.
It's going to load. So you find the section that you're interested in, and when you select that, it then populates it with all of the files that you can see in that one folder. And with this, you simply then go through and say, okay, these are the data modules that we want them to work on. So we simply select them. And you can see up here that they've generously added them up here.
Oh, yes.
And if we wanted to, if we've incorrectly selected, we can keep adding or we can delete as necessary. And if you wanted another folder, you'd simply go to the next folder and select the next file.
Adding.
Just keep on adding. So we haven't limited the number of files that you can add. It's just a realistic understanding of you're assigning this to a person. You're not going to give them 1,000 files to work on. So it's use your intelligence.
One task at a time.
Absolutely. So once you've made that selection, you go add task, and it'll go, are you really sure? I'm going, yes, please. And so it's now assigned these tasks or these files to this task.
Ready for you to continue adding detail.
And then we then go in and we put in whatever his title is. I'm just using a CR number, but it could be quite detailed. It really depends
on your process.
Absolutely. It just depends on what you're doing. Okay. And you can see here we've got our task date and there's nothing else available.
Because if you're starting a new task, it said you had to use new task.
Correct. Okay. You can then set it to who's it to be assigned to. So as I said, I'm using the administrator one for this purpose. And then we've got our priorities. So this is where we can indicate the urgency of this work. So with this, we're now looking at either low, medium or high. So you as an organisation would determine the definitions for those priorities. You would make that decision, and then as an organisation, you would then action it. So if it was decided that high is, super, super urgent, you've got no choice, done, irrespective of what you're doing at this point in time, that's the one you need to work on.
But that's a business process.
It's a business process. So you choose which one it is, and then you put in the comments. Whatever the instruction is. You type in whatever additional details. It can be quite detailed. It could be quite short. It depends on what is your existing process of communication. So everyone may already know where the CR details are stored and maintained. So if you're being given an instruction to do a change request, you might be going into that particular section to get all the full details. It really depends on
what's required.
What's your requirement
for the team.
Okay, and then you simply go create. And what that does is it will, if the system has been configured for it, it'll trigger the email notification to come into their inbox.
Mm-hmm.
So again, based on the template information.
Yep.
And also we have our little R4i task view.
Yep.
And this is the GUI side of it.
Yep.
And so that task will then land in here. And we can see here that there's my little CR1.
Okay, hold on, it's just refreshing. Yep, we've got it.
Yep. And we can see here that I've expanded the information to show the files that are associated.
Yeah.
I can see that it's a high priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple different choices that are available to me. I've got the ability to view it inside Task Manager.
Yep.
So that I can update the information.
So that would flick you over to the website, for instance?
Yep. Not only will it flick me over, it will auto-log me in,
okay,
and it will take me to
that task. Oh, nice. Okay, so because the task view is a GUI that's refreshing and interacting, even if you could have been out of the portal and all of a sudden you would have seen your task view pop up and indicate that there's tasks. So you toggle over here, and just by clicking that button, it'll log you in because it's got your profile details and your task GUI, and it will take you to your task.
Correct.
Nice. Okay, so it's
it'll
nice and fast.
take you to the physical ID of the task that you've been working on.
Okay.
Which is really, really nice. Okay. Then we can see that we've got a range of different icons across the top.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We can look at go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Just a few here. Okay. So let's have a look. So you can see here I've expanded it just so that you can see the extra information. So we've got a checkout, a reset checkout, and a check-in option.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells us that out of the files that have been assigned to this task, at least one of them
has to be checked out.
Has already been checked out.
Oh, yeah, because it's got a checkout command. Yeah.
And it can either be reset or checked in.
Yep.
And you can see here that the first starter module,
oh, yeah, it's got a little note. It's got icons on it. Yeah.
It's got a reset or a check-in.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it gives you that ability to be able to indicate, oh, well, I can't check that out at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I'm logged on as administrator, that's why I'm getting these two.
Because you can reset it if someone's checkout. Yep.
But if I was logged on as a normal user, it would show that it's checked out.
But you can't reset it.
But I can't reset it.
Mm-hmm.
So until that data module has been checked in, I can't do my next task with it.
Yeah.
So it won't let you check out a data module until it's been checked out.
So, again, it's interacting with the policies and the file details. You're kind of, the CSDB is also feeding you stuff just like the web task layer is as well.
Yeah. So we've got all of that communication happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we've then got the function that against the second data module, our little 258B, we've got a checkout.
Yep.
And we've got a writer icon.
Yep.
So if this was an illustration, I would do the checkout.
And go put it in Photoshop, whatever
authoring, illustrating application I'm using, that's the one I'd open it up with. So I'd check it out to my working directory and I'd physically start working inside my illustration program.
Yeah.
Sorry, not an illustrator. Don't do that side of it.
Yeah.
Give me tech writing anytime. Okay, so again, that gives us that function.
Yep.
The alternative is, as an author, and I'm using writer, I can auto-check it out. So with this, I simply go, click onto the checkout. If writer is not running, it will automatically launch writer and log me into writer. But if I've got writer running, it will then go, oh, okay, I'm going to physically check it out. And again, it takes that little bit of time because it's got to go through the process of checking it out. And
so it's got to go communicate back through the tasking layout into the CSDB
to then check it out.
Okay. Yep.
So then from here, we've then got the data module checked out. And we can then navigate down to the section that we need to update and put in the required information. So this is a procedural data module. So let's just go down to the last section and we'll just pop in a new procedural data module. So I'd make all the required changes. Now that might mean that I need to author additional content. update and modify, put in change markup, whatever is required for that process. I've just been very, very lazy and just put in just an additional step just to have that basic information. But we go through that process. So once we've done that, we then simply go in and we can say check in, because we don't need to go back to task view to do that. Right, we can do check in
directly, yes. Yeah.
So we don't need to use task view for that.
Yeah, where, like you said, if you're using an external illustration package or some other software that you might be interacting with,
correct.
Yeah, you'll go back to your task view to check it in.
Yeah, because you can see here now that particular data module, I can't check it out again.
Yeah.
Because it recognises that I've got it checked out at the moment.
Yeah.
So therefore I can check it back in. It, of course, comes up with my standard check-in dialog box to say, what am I doing with this? Am I setting it to anything specific? Am I adding any comments and such? So I do the usual and then go check in. So that will then return it back to the CSDB as it normally would. Nothing different there. It just allows us to go through that process. And, of course, connecting with the CSDB via the task. Okay, so it's coming through, and then once it gets to that point, there we go, it's confirmed the details. And it'll then close the data module, take it out, and of course task view would then be able to see those changes. Now, of course, what we need to do is also be able to update the portal to reflect those changes. So you've got two ways to do that.
Because I guess at this point, although you've already checked it in, you probably need to potentially provide feedback or pass it to QA or a team leader, or so you still have to perform some workflow activities.
Correct. And technically what I should do, or what you should do, is when you get the notification, you either click onto the little icon to view it inside Task Manager, because at the moment there's my task state and it's set to new. It hasn't recognised anything. So at that point you would then edit, and you would set it to what's its new state. What am I doing? Starting. Now we do still need to put in a comment. So we put in that information, and once we do that, it will then update. So now it's showing that its work started. When I've checked it in, I could then come in and edit, and I can then mark it to say what's it's ready for. So we can say, okay, now it's ready for review. And if this was to be assigned to someone else, I could then assign it to that person. I'm going to leave it as the system admin for this purpose. And we can then say, it's waiting for update and review. So now we've got that state set there. And we can continue to go through. So this would then go to the next person to do the QA process, because the files are still associated with this data module or this task. We can still go through and check out data modules and do everything that we want to. And when QA has finished, they would then come in and they would go reviews complete, put in the comment. So again, we have that information and we'd update, and we can now see it set that the review is complete. At this stage, we can then update it and we can say it's finished. In front of that. Okay, so we've finished the review. It's all okay. Everything's fine with it. We can go update, and what that does is it terminates and finishes that
particular task.
So that means that from our box here, we can go show completed and cancelled, and it can see there that it's been marked as finished. It says edit. It's not technically an edit. What it does is it allows you to see the information, so we can still see all of the files that are attached to it, and we can then see the full process, and we know all of that information. So
okay, so down the bottom there, it indicates time, date stamps of when things were started, finished.
Absolutely. Okay, and at any point in time, we can also export this to a PDF
Mm-hmm.
So this particular...
I noticed at the top you've got the two buttons, right, of export to a spreadsheet or a PDF. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is we've got two ways. So if we do the export here, we're just exporting to PDF this task.
Because you were in the task view, right? Yeah.
Yep. So we're just going to get that one single task.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we go export to PDF or export to CSV here,
yep,
it's whatever is the screen showing.
Yep. So your grid view that's basically showing is what you're exporting.
So if we're on current tasks,
yep,
and we go export to either of these,
yep,
it'll give you all the information about all of the tasks that are currently active.
Mm-hmm.
So if you needed to do any sort of management requirements,
yep, you've got your report.
That's the reporting side of it there.
Mm-hmm.
So from a My Jobs point of view, I can see all the tasks that I've currently got assigned to me.
Yep.
Okay. In the assigned work screen, we can see that same information, but now what we're doing is we're actually seeing it from a whole project point of view.
So this is admins or team leads can see who's been assigned what work beyond their own jobs.
Correct.
Where the authors would only have the My Jobs, like you said earlier.
Correct. So you can see here who's it assigned to.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see each of the tasks and who they've all been assigned to.
Yeah.
And it also shows you how many days active. So, system administrator, I'm bad. I've been sitting there and
you started it, but you've done
nothing else with it. It's been sitting there for 27 days.
Yeah.
So you can see we can go through this process and see that analysis information.
Mm-hmm.
And if we export this to an Excel to CSV,
you've got that data.
You're going to have all that data.
Yeah.
So it gives you that management side of it really quite, it's basic information, but it's vital to what we're looking for.
And I noticed you've got a little snapshot view down the side as well.
We do.
What are your active tasks versus other active tasks
as
well?
We've got active tasks, we've got all tasks, and we've also got completed tasks.
Oh, yes, as you scroll down on the left.
See everything.
Mm-hmm.
So from here, you can get a quick snapshot of what's currently happening. So for your active task, which is the most important one, I'm only interested in what have I got to do.
Mm.
It shows me that I've got 2 tasks, and I can also see their priorities.
Mm.
So again, it helps me with identifying.
It's a quick snapshot.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yep.
And when you're on your home page, that's the information that's focused.
So that panel is always there. Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. We always provide this information to help with identifying what's going on.
Yep.
So it gives us that management function.
Yep.
And, it then just gives you the overall of, hey, how's it going?
Mm.
So even though it's not a full-on workflow process that's all these choices.
Yeah, it's not a complex because, there's many workflow tools on the market.
Absolutely. There's some major
some
ones
of them
out there.
are amazingly amazing tools, but they're also amazingly complex as well. And generally speaking, because we're not talking about a business workflow, we're just talking about specifically a publishing team workflow.
Correct.
So like you said, it's not as complex as a full-on robust workflow, but it's not as basic as the core of we're just doing jobs inside the CSTB. So
this is the one that you see inside the CSTB. So with this, it's a simple process of all you're doing is, hopefully it'll eventually show.
Refreshing.
There you go.
Yep.
It just shows you what's the title, when it needs to be completed by, and what's your percentage of completion. So it doesn't give you all of that management functions.
Yeah.
But for a very small team,
this is ideal.
It's ideal for a small team process.
Yeah.
Because in here, as a small team, you can simply look at it and go, oh, okay, so, we can see who's assigned it and who's got it. So you can still see all of that information.
Yeah.
And you can go into the details of it and actually physically see details about that specific task.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you
quite the reporting or the snapshot or, like you said, moving stuff to different task states and getting email triggers. And like I said, for a small team where you're all closely connected all in one location, this is perfect. As soon as you get 10 or more users or they're global, they're spread out, users that are not permanently in the system, because, here in Task, in the CSTB client, you can see you've got your read and I working folder. So if you've got it, because you're in CSDB client or writer all day, you're going to know what tasks are popping into your working folder.
Absolutely.
Where email triggers, for those that aren't regularly in it, it's it's just a different layer. So it depends on your needs. But it's the next layer up, isn't it, on task management and project management.
It's looking at what is required for the project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're just looking at what are the options, what is capable, what do we need to do, what's the triggers that we're needing. So if an email function is the vital part that you need, then you start to look at Task Manager.
Yep.
So it's a very basic system, but it does do exactly what it's required to do.
Yeah, it's it's on the mark for what our customers tend to want.
Correct.
Okay, right. So on that note, that's our question time. For if there's any questions for anyone, it's we've had a fairly quiet audience here today, so they're obviously bedazzled by the glory that is task management and workflows with S1000D. I have to say I do like the task view GUI, the interaction. You've got that little monitoring going on, and just click on the checkout button and it flicks into R4i Writer. So that's
really, really nice.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah. It's nice, and it's set to trigger, so it'll pop up and remind you that you've got new tasks, so if you still haven't actioned anything, you get similar to your little email alerts and whatever, it just pops up onto your screen to say, hey, you've got an alert.
Excellent. So we have there on the last screen Rita's contact details, so her email address, and down the bottom part of that screen my contact details and my email address. So if anyone does have any further questions, and when we exit today, there is a very short survey just asking if you need any more information, or if there, of course, is a topic that you'd like to see for a future webinar. So as we exit today, that quick poll will pop up on your browser, and feel free to provide any feedback to us on that. The session has been recorded today, so we will make that available to anyone that was not able to attend, or if you want to forward that to any colleagues. So it does not look like we have questions, which is what I expected. Like I said, it was a fairly quiet audience today. The last session we were overwhelmed with questions, so it's, yes, it's sometimes nice to have the quieter sessions. So thank you very much, Rita, for walking us through the R4i Task Manager web server layer and the task view and the interaction with the authoring environment. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple of sessions. Next month, we have a theory topic being presented by Melissa Penline, and she is talking about hugging the equipment. Yes, so
I'm intrigued for that one. I want to hear that one.
Yeah, so when it comes to starting to work on a project, work on authoring and or illustrating, how close do we need to get to the equipment? Is it a worthwhile thing? Is it required? And this is based on a lot of Melissa's project experience, program management experience. So it's going to be a very interesting topic. So I can't wait to see what she has to share with us on that topic.
I think it'll be great.
Excellent. Okay, on that note, I think we will wrap up for today, and we look forward to seeing everyone next month in the month of April on hugging the equipment. Yes, wonderful. Thank you, everyone.